I was the director of professional development and outreach. But then film, you do all of the same, and it takes forever, you know. We had one in Cannes for the short film that you need to come meet this girl. Like, here's my heart. Like, can we do something together?
Somehow you already shift to the point that art for you is a point of a collective healing process, active process, not as a passive receiving or observing, is the one who's giving this. And still, how based on your life path, you was teaching, and meanwhile you already start to shoot as an actress in the short films. And so you start discover yourself in US as an actress. How it came through, because actress is so dependent role. It's not like I want to be actress and I became. Somebody has to see you and say, look, wow, you are the character I'm looking for. How did you came to this?
Oh my gosh. So I went back. I was English being my second language. I was just very like self-conscious of it, and also going back to how hard it was for me for people to like me. Like, people all the time just tell you, you know, like that you are less than because you're from Mexico, your education is from there, because your English is not so great, because you said a double negative, and or you don't know how to pronounce this, like whatever. So I was very self-conscious of that. But in 2020, I was at a very low point emotionally, and I was like, the only thing that I know heals me is art. So I started looking for auditions, right? And I went for at the MAC, at the Mexican American Community Center here in Austin. They had an open audition for theatrical readings of this playwright competition. So whichever won, it was gonna go to the national. Like, it was pretty cool, and I had never done anything in English, and I also had never auditioned in that capacity, you know, here. And so I emailed and said if I could do my audition in Spanish. And I was like, well, they immediately said yes. But then I was like, okay, well, I don't know, like a lot of monologues. Like, I just started getting in my head, and I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to say that poem, right? I was like, it'll be fine. So I kind of prepared it, and that was my audition, right? And I got the role. I read for Frankie Gonzalez's play that's called Even Flowers Bloom in Hell Sometime. Amazing play. And just going to the rehearsals and sitting at the table, I was like, oh, like I don't know, it healed all of what I was feeling, right? And then I had met a film director that I didn't know she was a film. I mean, kind of knew, but I didn't. And she called me and she said that she had seen my audition, or that she would want me to come audition for this. And I told her, oh, I'm a theater actor. Like, I don't do film. I'm not a film actor. And she very kindly said, you know, like, I actually really like working with theater actors, and just come. And I was like, well, I've never done film, but I can do it. I can do the audition, right? Like, I already did that. And then I got the role, right? In Solicha is my first character in film. And that film just has a huge everything for me, because I connected with the director, I connected with the character. It was my first time on a set. Sharon had made it very intentional that she wanted that film made by females only. So editors, casting, but like makeup, audio, light, it's all made by women, you know? So it was so powerful and meaningful and in-depth. And it was my first time, like open-heartedly with another person, to share, like, why Latinas don't like me. And she's like, well, I don't even, like, I'm more Tejana, like, I don't know. And then we started talking, right, about who are the Tejanos, who are the Chicanos, who are the Mexican Americans, the first generation. So that film is called When You Clean a Stranger's Home. It became this whole thing of its own ecosystem of healing in a different way. And then, after, thank God, it was after we shoot it, then she tells me who the story is based off of. And it's an honorary piece to celebrate her mother. So then I was like bawling. I was like, oh my God. But the film did so well, right? And I think it was that aspect of, I'm gonna get emotional. Like Sharon saw me, like Sharon saw that I could give her that, even with all of my fear and even with all of the things of not being enough or not having done enough or all of these things. She's just like, yeah. And then now that has like shifted everything, right? Because I've loved film for forever. I used to go to film festivals growing up with my parents. But then this was that next tier of the love that I have for theater is how it's beautiful and perfect and ephemeral, because it goes away. You prepare so much and then you do the work and then it's gone, right? Like if you go see a play, it's what you see and that's it. But then film, you do all of the same and it takes forever. And that, like, I connected so much with Sharon doing that piece for that, like that her mom can watch that a million times. If she has kids, her kids can watch that a million times. And for however long it exists somewhere, people will watch it and people will see that work, And that was just this mind-blowing experience as an actor, seeing the difference of how you prepare and how do you do theater to how do you do film. But also the impact, because again, connecting it to experiencing art from my perspective as a psychologist, as a collective healing thing, is that, right? Like theater has its own way, but film has its own way. And it was very powerful. And she is the director that saw me and gave me that opportunity to see myself on a screen. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just beginning.
It was just and that is a big beginning, right? Like, when I was in high school is when the thing in Waco happened, the Branch Davidians and the whole incident with the FBI. And so, as a person already living in Texas, it was definitely not a place that I was like, I'm gonna go to Waco, Like I never wanted to go to Waco. Like I would be fine just not going ever. Until our film made it into the Waco Film Festival. And I think we were in 3 different festivals that weekend.
So this film is this first one?
Yes, When You Clean a Stranger's Home. And so Sharon, I think Katie was gonna be in El Paso. She was gonna fly to LA for another festival. And she's like, do you mind going and doing the Q&A and just going to the Waco Festival for the film. And I was like, okay. Well, I was like, of course, like, it's my first time in film. We had just learned that we won the HBO Latinx Pick of the Year for 2021. It's a huge, like, it was like, I got this. So I go to Waco. And first of all, I've never been to a film festival as an actor, like, I was going to film festivals to watch films, not to do the red carpet and the photos and people wanting to interview you and the panel and talking about the film. Like, it was a completely different experience. But in that festival, in that time, there was a person in the audience that it was part of the board of Creative Waco. And I learned this later, but like, Elise texted Fiona and said, you need to come meet this girl. And so Fiona came, and they both were asking me like a lot of questions, a lot of very intentional questions, and I was already deciding that I needed to leave education and I wanted to do my own thing, like all these things. I was in a lot of transition. And then she says, like, there's this curriculum that we're looking to implement, and we're looking for a person that has kind of like the skill set that you have. So there's a possibility that I want to offer you a job. Like, at a film festival, out of the blue. And I was like, sure. It just sounded too good to be true for all reasons, right? And then she explains to me what the job was going to be, right? Like, of doing this workshops for creative community problem solving. So that. The importance of that is that in high school, for the philosophy class and philosophy and ethics, we used to do this kind of like model UN thingy, where you get to present how you will solve all of the problems in the world, right? And again, 17 me, I was like, of course I'm gonna fix them all. And my proposal was to do workshops where I will bring all of the billionaires of the world and all of the creatives of the world, and they will get together and they will figure out a ways to solve one problem at a time, all of the problems in the world. So when Fiona describes to me that would be the job, I just cried. And I was like, it's too good to be true. It's probably never gonna happen, but sure, if you have that job, I'll think about it, And I knew that it meant like I was gonna live in Waco. Like, I knew, but I didn't. So yes, that film brought me to Waco, and that Q&A in Waco brought me to Fiona Bond and Elise Edwards and Creative Waco. And then they gave me that job, right? And so the last 3 years of my life, I was living back and forth between Waco and here, but working full-time in Waco. And having the honor of doing all of the things that I do best, creating the curriculum, facilitating the workshops, learning, studying, weaving community, right? Waco is a very interesting space, but one of the fascinating things is that demographically is split almost a third equally. A third of Latinos, a third of blacks, and a third of whites. But it's like they only exist in their little ecosystems, right? So being able to be part of sharing their voices and kind of help Creative Waco continue cultivating spaces where all of the creatives from all of the spaces will come together. This last 3 years has been not only the best job position of my life, but really a full expansion of all of the ideas and dreams that I have of something that could really make an impact, to be able to do it, test it, try it, improve it, tell people about it while also doing more films and while also getting to talk about the importance of arts and the creative economy on a policy level. Because I think, in my personal opinion, civic engagement and or philanthropy of sorts and or just becoming part of the community, in bettering everything for everyone, I also think it heals you, you know, like when you have the ability to support someone, to help, it helps you, you know. And so, yeah, that film changed my life.
What was the name of your position in Waco?
I was the director of professional development and outreach. Yeah.
So after this film, you was shooting in in an episode of a series, and then you had another film already. So you was an episode of a series as an actress. Can you tell about this, please? How did it appear there?
Yes, my friend and actor, Jackie, is part of that TV series. It's called The Electrics. It's an amazing project, and they needed an actor, and I was like, well, again, same thing with still some of the doubt of like, I don't know if I'm gonna be good or not. And I showed up, and they liked me. They felt like I was in the right energy with the project, with what they were doing, and so yeah, I was there. I think we shot two pieces, but it was one episode of the TV series. Yes, yeah.
And then it was Hardaway, Texas, and we was already producing this film. Okay, and it was quite successful. You just came from Cannes, where you was. Have you been in a competition, or it was a screening? How it was?
No, it was we had one in Cannes for the short film, and this was just being part of getting into having the conversations with all of the other independent short filmmakers that were going to be there, and also because for me, it felt like it was an opportunity that I feel like that has opened so many things that I was told so many times that it wasn't possible, that it felt like this is just too magical, you know? So, yeah, I went, and we have been in so many festivals, but because I was working still in Waco and everything, I had only the ability to go to a few, and I have never been in international traveling and to Europe. And so seeing that Gregory and like Lauren and like the team got to go also be part of those experiences, it felt like just like a huge honor. When I emailed, I obviously did all the things wrong, and I emailed that I was a producer, and then they kind of do like a search on you, and they were like, no, you're not a producer. Like, we're not, like, you're not in, you know? And so then I got an email about showing up with my acting resume and my IMDb card if I had the credential that I was saying. Then like it's like corroborating the information, right? Because in some way, the same thing with psychology, right? Like psychology, I haven't done it traditionally. My journey in film has also been very different and new, but yeah.
How many festivals did you cover with this film?
I personally went to Fredericksburg, was the Texas premiere, El Paso, Austin Under the Stars. I took it to the Lincoln Center in New York for the DIFF festival. I was at the Holy Shorts in California. I'm missing. We showed it in Waco. I'm missing one more, but those were the ones that I covered in the U.S. The one showing at the Lincoln Center in New York was very powerful because it was on November 8th, so it was after the elections, and it was the first time showing it. I went by myself, right? So no other cast or crew was there with me. But after the showing, a lot of the people that approached me to talk about the film were undocumented people from different places around the world, you know. And so for me, because this was my first time as a producer, and kind of in the role in the beginning of a cultural consulting producer, but it was just having so many conversations with Gregory, whom I love and respect dearly, just like Lauren, because the both of them made the conscious decision of bringing someone like myself into the conversation to speak about a story that is not theirs, right? And I have a high respect for that. It is something that more filmmakers are thinking about. In Cannes, there was actually a panel for how now women are doing consulting on when people make films about mothers that give birth, so that the sequencing of how the character exists is more in the respect of motherhood. So I feel like, I think I have too many things, but connecting it to the ability of the film to, even though it's a story that was written by Gregory and Lauren and is shot and represented in Texas in general, the humanity of the film is something that speaks about an issue that is global, right? Yeah.
And then you was shooting as an actress again, and as about shoe. How is it called?
Yes.
Something about shoe. What is the name of it?
Yeah, going back to, this is really interesting. As I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but Waco connected me to Hen Dachman, who's the director of But I'm a Shoe, who is what is my other film as an actor. And Waco connected me to Lauren and to Gregory, right? So that has been where I've connected with all these amazing people. And But I'm a Shoe is actually going to be at the Waco Film Festival here next week, the Waco Indie, from July 17th to the 20th. Yeah, and I can't wait to be back.
So in Europe, you've met, I assume, a lot of filmmakers, and how different it is? How does it fit your imagination about Europe, European filmmaking?
Ooh.
What did you think about being for now indie actress you was in an episode in series, so not really only indie, but still Waco is more like a festival. Waco, and Waco is our cornerstone city, place of your life. Yes. And it's just give you so much. So you kind of in a destiny point, in just a turning point for your life. And it's more for indie surroundings. Tell me, being here, indie filmmaker, how did you imagine European life, European filmmaking, and what you faced up being there, really?
Oh my God. That can be an answer that takes a couple of days to respond. Well, it was a mind-blowing experience because the first festival was in London, the CIFF, which was the first one of its kind, and it was a group of people from London and from Majorca that came together to start promoting more spaces where people go consume short films and understanding the power of the shorts and independent filmmakings, all the things. And so attending that at the venue where it was, I felt like getting into London, into the upper echelon of like incredible filmmakers. And it was like everybody was so friendly and it was so intimate because it's in a small venue. And we won Best Cinematography. So then it's like all of the feelings of I'm here, I'm doing all of these great things, and then we won, and then more people want to talk to you, and then a lot of people are talking about, oh yeah, we'll see you in Cannes next week, right? And then they introduced me to like even more people. So it felt like it was this wave of, it started in London, and then it went to Cannes, and then I went to Spain, and then it went to Germany, and it just took me places, right? Like, and including Monaco. I went to Monaco because I met a couple in London that are thinking of making a series of his life story. His life story is fascinating, Ludovic, and he like they both were like, if you're gonna be here so close, like you should just come. So then it was being in different spaces, not only with the directors, producers, and actors, right? Like, but with also the people that hold those stories, you know. And I felt, I don't know, this whole trip, if it was like a quantum leap to existing in a different dimension, you know? Like it felt like that. It felt like in every space with every person that I connected, nobody did shallow conversations, you know? We all would jump into depth like quick. and the importance of art and the importance of the cinematographer, the photographer, the person that does the score, right? Like the music, and it was that. It was just, I get emotional again. I don't know if it's responding exactly that, but the feeling was that, like, of all of the things that I haven't had the ability to say that I am, but being it, you know? And then like hearing people like that cared so much about what I had to say and that resonated with just being able to create from that space of connecting people, you know? So it was very emotional to the whole trip being surrounded by people that love art in the way that I do in each of their crafts, you know? Like I met painters that have done scenography for incredible productions, you know? Photographers that have worked with everyone under the sun, like Iñárritu was there for Amores Perros, which is one of my favorite movies. And seeing Gael like fall apart about understanding what Amores Perros did for him and for Mexican cinema, you know? So it's like being in this other part of the world with people speaking languages that I didn't know existed, with the same passion of this thing that we're doing is worth it, you know? In one of the most beautiful places that I've been in my life, and with everyone just in joy, you know, like in constant joy. And so, yeah, it was connecting to film and to all of the importance of everyone that is in the team, you know. I met a Chinese composer at a random day that I was exhausted and I just sat on a carpet and he was talking to this other woman on the carpet next to me. And we just started talking in his brain, his genius, like in he was talking about, you know, his upbringing in China and like growing up there and living there right now, you know, like what is it like, who he is. And then the woman that was sitting with him is a woman from California that just had an incident of somebody calling the cops on her, you know. And then me talking about how I was traveling mostly as a Mexican, not as a US citizen. And it was just, again, all of the conversations quickly will have so much depth and intimacy. You know, like everybody was just very quick to, like, here's my heart. Like, can we do something together? And then, yeah, like it extended to all of the other spaces that I ended up visiting. Berlin kind of was added to, many of the other places kind of got added afterwards. And Berlin, which was my last city to visit, the woman that I stayed with is a friend of mine. And she took me to this incredible photography museum that they have. That is, I could just have stayed there like 12 hours just looking at some of the photography that they have there and the programming that they have for the youth. The way that people in Europe do go to consume art, you know, like to the theater, to the films. A friend got me a ticket for one of the plays that was top 10 plays of Europe last year. And the theater was full. It was packed, it was a full house. And so I guess all of that, what it gave me is more confirmation of how important it is to continue creating spaces that do that, you know? And that even though here in the US, there's very specific pockets of where people do consume that, like New York, Chicago, Austin, really here in Texas. But then there's spaces where it's still kind of growing, right? Like I think that, I mean, Waco is a big icon of somebody, of a place that is shifting the understanding of what a cultural district does to a place, you know? El Paso is doing incredible work with reframing the importance of the cultural district there too. So that aspect of experiencing Europe as the dream of how I hope to see the craving for art to grow and expand some more, you know, in general. Guadalajara, Mexico as a whole, even though it has its million issues, is the most beautiful country in the world. And Guadalajara specifically is the capital of the world and a franchise of heaven. But I grew up seeing so much of everything, you know, from going to see opera to seeing the symphony. I remember my first concert that I was like in awe, like that I was like, this is insane. My dad took us to see Los Niños Cantores de Viena, which is a Vienna choir of children. And I just remember, like, for sure, if there's angels, like, this is the way that it should sound when, like it's insane, you know? To puppeteers, to tons of different film festivals, to like African dances, to theater on the street, so that was my upbringing. I did grow up surrounded by art and storytellers and music, and so my hope is that, or I guess what Europe gave me in that sense is that mirroring of my experience in Mexico growing up, and how I wanted to be more part of my life here too, you know?
So where grass is greener, here or there?
I guess to thinking of like the grass is greener where you water it. I think a lot of people do water it in Europe, you know? And I think we need to have more people that like to water the grass. Yeah, I don't know.
You're a psychologist. You did acting. You did managing. You did producing already. What's next? Who do you feel you are more?
I definitely think that it's a multi-phase thing, you know, like I feel in Cannes, I had the immense honor of staying in an amazing place right in the middle of the city. There was this beautiful market down the street. Everything was so incredible. But the people that I stayed with, a lot of them are directors. And so they were asking me, when am I going to direct? When am I going to write? When am I? So like all these other things. And for me, one of the things that I kept resonating with, like, I do contain multitudes, like, I think that because of the work that I've done this last 3 years, I see all of the facets that I play. Like for Creative Waco, even though my position was Director of Professional Development and Outreach, I had to become a researcher because I had to research so much about the town to be able to have good conversations with people. I was also able to deploy some of the funds for the National Endowment for the Arts for individual artists. So I got to do that process of guiding an artist from project to fruition to that. And I love doing that. I finished my training as an EMDR therapist, and even though I've kept very limited number of clients, I am doing therapy for people. Some people in Ireland, some people in Colorado. Like most of my work is virtual. All of my work in therapy is virtual. And then the designing of the curriculum, right? And then doing the workshops. So I am all the things. and I love being and doing all the things, including, like, for example, this is a bragging point for the Heart of Texas. The last legislative session for the funding of culture and arts, we were visiting the representatives that covered Waco, and our representative, which is Pat Curry, asked me about the film, right? Because that was what my presentation was about, the importance of the creative economy and film specifically. And I asked him if he wanted to watch it, and I'll send it to him. And he's like, yes. And I was like, okay, are you sure? And then it was funny and it was good. But then I get a phone call a week after saying that Representative Curry gave us a Texas resolution with the seal of the state, acknowledging the importance of our film. And in this moment of, like we were saying, the political climate or just the morale of the world, with so many wars and so much division and so much who is what. Pat Curry is a Republican representative, right? And so understanding even that aspect of how do I live my civic engagement and how do I present myself in different spaces as an advocate is that of being all the things and successfully being all the things for the greater good of this aspect that I believe is my purpose, right? Like, why do I do what I do? Why? Because that 17-year-old girl that was going to change the world, bringing billionaires and creatives together, it's still me. So now I've been a creative, now I need to become a billionaire, and then figure out how to gather those and how to really create that. So it's really becoming within my purpose all of the things that I needed to become and or to learn that I could become, and both. And now living from there, like living and leading from there. There is a theater production that I'm going to be a part of in the first weekends of August. I would love for you to come. I would love for everyone to come. With a Venezuelan director, right? And like when he sent me the script, the play, right? I was like, oh my God. Because the play is about understanding Soledad from the solitude perspective, from the solace perspective, from the loneliness perspective and from the aloneness perspective. And being able to be also in that space, not as an actor, but as a person that's supporting the vision of the immersive play that Jyoti has a vision of doing, is another thing, that I didn't know I was going to do. So it's very much multifaceted, but in the best way, like in the best way. I think it can feel very challenging for people of careers that really depend of you being solid on just one thing, like if you are a musician and you just want to do music, great, like amazing for you, like go gung-ho on music, like great. But because of my skill sets and because of my dreams and because of the things that I value in life, I need to be all of those different parts, And now I know that I can be them and that I'm good at